I want to introduce to you Brian. He is the Regional Managing Director with Ameritas Dental. He's going to go over some great information this morning about how Ameritas Prime Star, their individual dental and vision products can help you guys with your clients. Are you going to also be covering some of the over 65 as well? Is that correct?
Absolutely. Yep, we'll do both, under and over.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to hand everything over to you. Welcome.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Jamie. And thank you, everyone, for joining the webinar here this morning. I'm Brian Doran. I'm with Ameritas, and extremely excited to talk to you this morning. Why? Because now is a time of the year we've all been waiting for, or maybe dreading on. It all depends on how you look at that. But nonetheless, whether you're looking at open enrollment or AEP, this is a busy time of the year. So we are very timely here this morning in terms of having the opportunity to present with you some supplemental ideas that you can be looking at, whether you're primarily selling health or Medicare through Ameritas Dental and Vision. What we've got planned here today is of course, I'm going to do what you expect as a carrier presentation. We'll run through the products, and I want to be certain to try to get you as comfortable as possible with the plan, so that way you're confident when you offer them to your clients. Well, I'm going to do my best to kind of intertwine and interwove various things that I'm hearing in the industry. I'm on a national level, so I travel kind of all across the country and pick up various insights in terms of kind of what other agents are doing that's working in the industry. What are some of the best cross-sell ideas that I've heard on my end? What are some of the ways that those that are on the over 65 are integrating it with their Medicare educational process? So I'm going to do my best to kind of add more of those value-add type of things throughout this process and this presentation. And then from there, we'll wrap up in two ways. One, I want to show you our enrollment tool. Our enrollment tool is still one of the best and the quickest enrollment tools that's out there. 6 years ago, we made one of the first consumer-approved enrollment tools for health and for Medicare eligibles. And still to this day, it's really one of the best ones out there. So it's a big differentiator that Ameritas is able to offer, and I'm excited to show it to you. And then last but not least, we'll wrap up with questions. So if you have questions as I go along, please send those to the Q&A, and we'll address them as a group here at the end. So that said, Ameritas is out of Lincoln, Nebraska. They're a mutual company, and they're similar to, those very typical older mini general lines insurance carriers. And what I mean by that is there's many different things that we do and that we offer. We started off as a life carrier way back in the day, and a bank out of all things. And we still have that bank, and we still do life insurance, individual life, individual disability, but it really has grown to become dental as the lead. So dental is what we do the most of out of the revenue that we have. As I mentioned, we're in Lincoln, Nebraska. We're roughly 2,300 employees, pretty active on the acquisition side. We have, what we deem kind of 7 core offices across the country. But in addition to those 7 offices, I think we've got 50 or 60 satellite sales rep office locations. So we really kind of cover the country across the board. I personally am up in Minnetonka, Minnesota. That's where the majority of the folks are at that support our individual product lines, which is what we're obviously talking about here today. I mentioned Ameritas is a dental-focused carrier. We're not a health carrier. We're not a Medicare carrier. Dental is our focus. And even out of this, if you look at the total revenue of $2.1 billion, this year that will be about 2.3, 2.35, somewhere in there. The majority of that revenue is still from dental. So dental is our biggest product line. It's predominantly group dental. Ameritas is, kind of one of those core players on the group side, up to the Fortune 500 companies. But on the individual side, the individual dental, while it's not as big as the group, it is the fastest growing product line that we have amongst all of our customer segments. So the growth that we've been seeing on the individual side has been fantastic. We launched this product 6 years ago, and it's so cool to see kind of the growth over the years. And really that growth is really due, in my belief, not so much in terms of adding market share, but it's really about growing the category overall. What we've seen is we've seen many, many more agents over the last 6 years adopt and incorporate dental into their sales process, whether that's health or Medicare. We saw it first on the health side by, frankly, necessity, in the fact that commissions essentially went away on the ACA side. And thus, if you want to make any money doing an ACA sale, you've got to start offering some supplemental plans, and dental being one of those, of course. We're seeing it more and more on the Medicare side. Even though the Medicare market is much more stable relative to ACA, more and more agents are incorporating dental into their Medicare education process, and thus into kind of one of their core Medicare product lines. And so if you fast forward 6 years ago, like I said, we launched this product that had zero in premium at that point. And this year we'll do somewhere north of 70 to 75,000 insureds on the plan just this year alone. So it's been fantastic in terms of kind of the growth that we've seen, and that's because of you, the agents. So thank you so much. We're obviously financially strong. We're A+ with S&P, and we're ranked A with AM Best. So no issues there. So now I want to show you the plans. Our flagship product is called Prime Star. We do have a couple different private label plans that are out there, and if you look closely, you'll see kind of in the the footer or the bottom of the disclosures, underwritten by Ameritas. And so if you see that is what it likely is. We've entered into various carrier partnerships, especially on the med sup side. And so you'll see that from time to time in the marketplace if you keep a keen eye on what's being offered on the individual. But what's really cool about partnering with AHCP is they've got access to our flagship product, and that's all in a direct top contract level. So they've got the ability to contract you at full commission rates, whether that's street or whether you've got an upline or a downline. You can get really the top contract and be rest assured that you're not leaving any money on the table from a commission standpoint. So Prime Star is the plan I'm going to show you, and it's a dental and vision plan. And there's a few things that we focus on. At a very overarching theme, what we focus on is the best economic value. What we heard from agents 5-6 years ago when we first launched this was a big reason why agents didn't sell dental is because they just didn't believe in it. They just didn't believe that there was enough value for the customer to offer it. And so everything we do kind of has the best economic value in mind for the end consumer, because if it works well for the consumer and if it's competitive and easy for the agent to offer, it works well. It sells. Underneath that, I would say the other core, I've got three of them, but I would say the biggest out of these three is my first bullet point you see in the slide, which is simplicity. Because we're a standalone dental carrier, and we're being cross-sold off of health and Medicare, but we're not a health or Medicare carrier, we have to be simpler in terms of our product and our processes than everybody else out there to compete. And so that's what we focus on from day one. And it's if you were in our home office at all and you could hear some of the meetings and conversations that we have, everything is really surrounding this topic. It always comes back to how can we make it simpler? And usually our biggest issue in terms of making it simpler is also managing the DOI rules, because this is an individually filed product and you've got 50 different DOIs with 50 different opinions on how to do things. That's where our biggest challenges is we've tried to crank out the processes to be as simple as possible, but it's usually around the rules and regulations as a carrier many times because of the DOIs, to where it's not as simple as what we wish it could be. But saying that, anytime we can make improvements, we definitely do so. The network is one of the strongest networks out there. I mentioned we do a boatload of group dental, and that's a big reason that drives our network to be really one of the top networks in the country. In about 15, 16 states, we have the top network in that respective state, but usually I want to say 40 out of the 50 states we're top 3. If you're looking at individual dental, though, that's kind of comparing it in the group world. If you look at individual dental, for the most part, we're pretty much the largest network on a nationwide level, 430,000 access points nationwide. And last but not least, technology and service. As consumers and as technology has improved, what a consumer would consider quality service, that bar has been raised over the last 5 to 10 years in our belief. It's also our belief that the insurance industry as a whole is lagging relative to the rest of the industries. I don't think that's too far of a far out there concept. I think most would agree with that. And so what we try to do is we try to do the minimum. And what I would classify the minimum as is if there's an issue and you, the agent, or the GA brings it to the carrier, you want, of course, the carrier to fix that issue, right? I view that as the minimum. That used to be the standard. I view that now as the minimum. Really what we're trying to get to a point at and where I feel we are at with our individual dental, is you need to be able to leverage technology and have smooth, well thought out processes to where you can prevent issues, not fix issues. Because if you're fixing issues, you're spending time fixing those issues. Those are soft distribution costs that you have as an agent or an agency that will really add up over time. The name of the game, at least with supplemental plans, in our opinion, is to have those processes and the technology in place for it to be as streamlined and as automatic as possible. And so that's what we strive to do. Let me show you what our plans look like. We have, I'm going to show you our base plans, but in 6 states, there are what we call state specifics. So just know in these 6 states that you see there on the screen, Connecticut, Illinois, New Jersey, Idaho, New York, and Ohio, the plans are a little bit different than what I'm going to show you, but they're very similar. With that said, I've got some good news. I currently have on the slides not available in Massachusetts, Maryland, and Washington, but we did receive approval in Maryland and Washington, so I'm super excited about that. And so that will actually launch this Friday. Maryland will be what we call a generic state, which just means that Maryland falls within our base plan. So if you're in Maryland, the plans that you're about to see will be exactly what's offered. And Washington will fall underneath the state specific. Washington's kind of one of those goofy ones in terms of relative to the others, and so that'll be a state specific. But I know, especially the folks up in Washington, they've got virtually zero options when it comes to standalone dental and vision right now. And so any agents on the call that are in Washington, I'm sure will be excited to hear that. So we have 2 plans, Advantage and Advantage Plus. Advantage Plus is our most popular plan, so I'll show that one first. What we do with these plans, when possible, is we try to mimic group insurance, especially for those of you that, well, it doesn't matter whether you're selling in the ACA space or the Medicare space. If a client has had dental before, it's likely that they had it, and it's likely they had it via group insurance. And so if you sell them an individual plan because they're now self-employed, by way of example, or they're turning 65 and they're retiring and they're going on Medicare, either way, they're used to group insurance. And so when possible, we try to make our plans similar to group insurance. The biggest way that we do that is through our preventative services. Most individual dental plans out there, I can't believe it, but most individual plans still have some sort of limited benefit when it comes to preventative services. And what I mean by that is they'll do like a 3-month waiting period, or they won't give 100% coverage right away, or they'll apply the deductible to the preventative services, none of which occur on the group side. And so the further away your individual plan that you're offering is from what the customer is expecting, which is what they're used to, which is group insurance, we've found to be more issues. And so over time, we've gotten to this point where we offer very, very rich benefits. There's nothing more that we could add to a preventative to make it richer. But what that's done is, yes, that's cost more in terms of rate, but it's aligned better with what customers are expecting. And so thus, the agents, and us, the carrier, hear much less noise when it comes to them actually utilizing the benefits, which is what we ultimately want. We want this to run as smooth as possible for you so you can sell the policy and not necessarily forget about it, but just collect the renewal checks and keep stacking from there. So how does preventative work? 2 cleanings and exams. It's twice per year, not once every 6 months. X-rays are included on a preventative. It's 100% day 1, and the deductible is not applicable towards it. Basic and major services, we offer what we always advertise as day 1 benefits. And the way we do no waiting periods is we offer graded benefits. And so you get some coverage right away, and after a year, those benefits increase. So with basic services, for something like a filling, it starts at 50%, and you can get that right away. That includes pre-existing conditions. As long as the work has not been started, it will be covered. So those basic services, once again, start at 50%, and after a year, they go to 80%. And then the major services is essentially all the other kind of big stuff. Crowns, if you're working the senior space, dentures and implants are going to be inquired upon, I'm sure, especially implants. Implants, out of all procedures, implants is the fastest growing procedure in terms of the utilization that we're seeing on the claim side. More and more seniors are getting implants. Why? Because doctors, dentists specifically, have come to realize that in the late years of an individual's health, there are health benefits, overall health benefits, with the insured, or I should say with the patient, in their view, having as many of their natural teeth still remaining. And so they are less likely to just kind of quickly pull all the teeth once they lose one or two and put in dentures. If the insured can afford it, and if it's an option financially, they'd much prefer to do an implant and or a bridge. And so that is really making the cost go up, and thus, you will definitely be asked about it. The Advantage Plus plan is the only plan that we have that does cover implants, so that's something good to note. Otherwise, the next plan I'm going to show you is pretty similar. And once again, 15% right away, 50% after a year. Plus, what's cool is we offer everyday effective dates. So someone could literally go get a crown done tomorrow, know they need to get the crown done, and we would cover it. Once again, as long as work's not been started, it'd be covered. Ortho's available for children, so probably not a huge selling point on the Medicare side, but definitely for the ACA side. And that's same as major, $1,550, $1,000 benefit on the ortho. The deductible is $50, but not applicable to preventative, and your annual maximum is $2,000. This is our richer plan of the two, and also our most popular. 70% of our enrollments are that plan there. Here's our other plan. This is the Advantage plan. This plan is a little bit more affordable. In the majority of the country, this plan is going to be about $25, $26 a month. Preventative services work exactly the same, 100% coverage right away. From there, what we've done to keep the rate realistic, or I should say, affordable, is we've lumped basic and major together. We just kind of call it all additional services, and they're covered all at the same rate, $1,550. And so you are, in essence, getting less coverage on the basic with this plan. But what's cool about this plan is when you're looking at plans that are in that $20 price range a month, usually what carriers do is they have to pull back on the preventative benefit, because the preventative benefit is what's utilized the most. So it's the easiest area to cut back on to keep the rate low. So they'll usually make a deductible applicable towards it, or x-rays will be down and like basic, or there won't be 100% coverage on it, et cetera. Whatever they try to do to pull back on the claims on the preventative services. We've done the opposite. And so the folks that are buying this plan, other than those that are cost conscious and just want a little bit more of an affordable rate, are those with a very healthy mouth. Because those with a very healthy mouth typically are going to be the ones that go twice per year pretty religiously to get their cleanings, but don't have too much concern about really anything else. Maybe a filling comes up from time to time, but they're really not too worked up about the threat or the concern of like a crown or an implant or a root canal being needed down the road. And so for those types of folks, this plan works perfectly because the preventative services are very strong. You can't make them any stronger. But yet they still have some coverage in case something bigger comes up. Furthermore, instead of paying out of pocket for this, they'd be better off to buy the insurance than they would be, just paying for the cleanings itself. And so you could run through that math with them, and I've actually got a slide a little bit later that I'll show you that kind of talks about some of that math. How are the claims paid? Another thing that we do that's pretty unique is we offer what we call MAC and UCR plans side by side, or say it another way, network and non-network, or network and indemnity, however you want to call it. So we've got two plans I just showed you, Advantage and Advantage Plus. But when you look at the enrollment tool, you'll actually see four. And the reason why is because each one of those plans has the option of buying it as a UCR plan or buying it as a network plan. And very simply, the difference is if they're going to go in network, they'd be better off to buy the network plan because the network plans cost less. If they are going to utilize the benefits outside of the network, they'd be better off to buy one of the non-network plans because those reimbursements for the non-network providers are higher. And so that's actually a huge benefit, but I realize it's unique. No one else does that, and so it can be confusing. And so if there's questions around that, send them to the Q&A and or to the chat function, and we'll answer them. And you'll also see it on the enrollment tool, so hopefully that will help. The Ameritas network, I mentioned 430,000 access points. That actually is going to be even going up. We just set up a new arrangement where we're going to be bringing on a large amount of additional providers that we previously didn't have. And so at the beginning of the year, those numbers will be increasing officially on 1/1. But currently, we stand at 427,000 access points nationwide, and we've got an average discount of 31%. One thing I think Ameritas does a good job of from a network standpoint is they kind of find that happy medium ground between a network. And what I mean by that is if you were to build a network you can really do it one of two ways. It's kind of there's a tipping point between your width and your depth, or to say it another way, between your access points and your discount. The wider your network is, that will usually come at the sacrifice of the reimbursements, thus the discounts. The narrower your network is, so if you were to build like an HMO, it'd be a very skinny network, but with very deep discounts. And so it's kind of a one or the other type game. You could build a HMO and you have it very skinny, but get these discounts, or you could build a network like what Delta does and have it as wide as possible with virtually zero discount. We kind of sit right in the middle, and we try to, of course, make it as wide as possible. And considering our discount, we've done a really good job, in my opinion, of that. But if you go too wide, it's at the sacrifice of discount, and so therefore the client isn't really benefiting much at all. But if you go too narrow, no one utilizes it. So you've kind of got this interesting dynamic if you ever actually think about the networks and how they're structured. And considering how wide that network is, Ameritas does a really good job of getting those discounts and keeping the cost contained, which is ultimately reflected in how rich of a benefit we can offer to the insureds. Let me talk to those of you that are in the senior market for a moment, because for the most part, if you're doing ACA, I've never heard of an agent who sells ACA and doesn't try to sell supplemental plans, because there's frankly no commission on the ACA side. But in the senior space, there still are agents that don't sell dental or other supplemental benefits alongside Medicare. A big reason why is because of regulations. So you've got CMS, assuming we're talking about an MA or a PDP plan that's involved. You've got scope of appointment forms that are involved. And so I want to try to give you first some market analysis, and then two, some very tactical advice on some things that I'm hearing working well. So first, specific to kind of a market analysis, if you're working the T65 market and they're coming off of group insurance, 71% of the folks intend to buy a dental plan. 71% of the T65 market intend to buy a dental plan. So the natural organic demand for a product like dental is higher than any other supplemental plan that's out there. Now, you could sell a hospital indemnity plan alongside of an MA, and I think that's a good idea. Or you could cross-sell any other health product, assuming we're not talking about life and annuities, because those can't be cross-sold alongside Medicare, but you could cross-sell any other health product, whether it's accident, CI, what have you, and do so to varying degrees of success. But once again, out of all of those, dental is going to be the only one where folks are actually going to ask you about it. No one's going to ask you, do you have a good quality hospital indemnity plan? That just doesn't occur. But people have dental from group insurance. And so if you're replacing their group insurance, I would encourage you, if you're not already, to definitely be at least making them aware that dental is not offered or included with Medicare. And thus, you've got an option that you can show them. Before I go to this, let me, now that I've gone there, let me just talk about it real quick. Here's another stat that I think is important to know. A senior now on average spends $1,154 a year on dental. So the cost will only continue to go up. With that said, what I was going to say previously was the other tactical thing I can offer in terms of that senior market is this: when you're talking about the scope of appointment form, that can be a hindrance, and it's just kind of I don't want to call it a scare tactic, but it can just kind of scare some agents off, and they just go, I don't even want to deal with it. Don't let that scare you away. What's cool is the 48-hour rule has now gone away, so you can get a scope of appointment form on the spot. And furthermore, your scope of appointment form can include dental. And so what I would recommend is just utilize a generic scope of appointment form that has dental on it anyway. And if you don't have one of those, Ameritas has access to them, and I would assume that AHCP does as well. So that would be my tactic in that regard. And ultimately, like any cross-sell, what you need to do is you need to build up the need, talk to them about what they originally inquired about, which was either health or Medicare, and then from there, offer it to them. There's really not a lot of selling that goes on in the dental world. It's more about just making them aware that you offer it, and then, of course, describing in brief how the plans work. It's pretty simple, actually. So it's worked well for the agents that have adopted it. So if you haven't, I would definitely encourage you to do so. Let me give you some numbers in terms of what type of savings we can actually give to the clients. Kind of back to this best economic value thesis that we have. If you get a cleaning, you can see the average cost for cleaning is $108, and this is based upon a Minnesota zip code. We, of course, cover 100% of that. But let's go to something a little bit more robust, like a crown. Average crown in Minnesota costs $1,117. And dental on a geographical level varies quite a bit. If you're up in like Portland, where AHCP is at, Portland and Washington, those two states in Southern California, they're on the West Coast, those are some more expensive states. I would guesstimate that a crown's probably about $1,700 in those areas. If you're in Northern Cal, which is a little bit closer to kind of the Midwest in terms of pricing, this number is, you know, about right. If you're down south, this number is probably a little bit less, probably about $800, $900, depending on where you go. But for government work, as I like to call it sometimes, let's just go ahead and let's run with the assumption of a Minnesota zip code. The average cost of the crown up here is $1,117. With the network discount, we immediately bring it down to $748, and then when you add in the 15% insurance you get right away, the day one cost to the customer is only $636. So that's giving them a savings of 43% right away on a pre-existing condition. It's pretty remarkable. If you were to assume that they've had the policy for a year and thus their benefits are higher now they're at 50%, the 1117 bill between the network discount and the insurance is dropped all the way to $374, giving them a 66% savings off of the cost they would have paid for the crown out of pocket. And so the value is definitely there, in my opinion. If you look at any of the other dental plans that are out there and kind of do a similar comparison of what type of net savings can somebody offer on a day one or a year two basis, you'll be what you'll find is we really do offer the best economic value. Let's talk about vision quickly. We do standalone plans, and that has worked very well for us instead of doing combo products. The reason why is because then you can give your customers choice amongst what they want instead of just everyone getting, you know, a combo product. And so we have standalone vision, but can be sold alongside the dental. Out of our dental enrollments, half of them include a vision plan. So the pickup rate's pretty high, which is good for the agents because one, you're fulfilling a need obviously for the client, but for you, the agent, you're going to increase your average commission. And we've got really both the big networks that exist on the vision side, IMED and VSP. IMED is really known for kind of their big stores like LensCrafters and ProVision, Target's included. VSP is really known for the private practice doctors. They also have Costco. So here's our IMED plan. The eye exams are available once per year. The glasses or contacts are available every 2 years. The copay for that eye exam is $25. The copay on the lenses is also $25. So you have $50 in copays. And then the frame allowance is $130. The monthly rate's a national rate, and that's $10.67. The VSP plan is a little bit richer in benefits. The VSP plan has the eye exams, but also the glasses or contact lenses available every year. Furthermore, the copays are less. The eye exam copay is only $10, and the lens copay is only $20. You also get a higher frame allowance. So it's $150, which obviously is going to allow you to get a little bit more of an expensive frame if you like. Monthly rate, though, is higher, $16.34. So let's do a similar comparison in terms of kind of what's the value to the client. If we assume the IMED plan and we assume someone are getting contacts, the out-of-pocket expenses between the eye exam, the contact fit and follow-up, and the contact lenses is $515. But with our insurance, that $515 bill is dropped down to $175. So it's a pretty significant savings. If you do the same assumption, but with somebody buying glasses on the VSP plan instead, their out-of-pocket expenses are $470, but if they have our insurance, then only $80. And so really, if someone's buying a dental plan from you, if they have glasses or contacts, it makes sense for them to buy this. They would be, kind of similar to the dental, they'd be money ahead if they bought this plan. Sometimes I'm asked at this point, especially when we're doing, face-to-face trainings, if they're money ahead to buy this and, they can utilize it right away because there's no waiting periods in either of these plans, how is this possible? How can you guys afford to offer it? And other than the network savings, really the big answer that isn't the popular one, but it's the truth, is utilization. Even though we offer these benefits on the vision side, not everybody utilizes them, just for whatever reason. And I guess think about if you've got like group vision currently. Do you always use it? I know I don't. I know I don't get an eye exam every year. You get an eye exam every 2 years. So the lack of 100% utilization by those that buy the plan allow us to essentially give, better than even money for those that actually end up utilizing it. So I would definitely be offering it to anyone that has glasses. So if you like what you heard and you want to get appointed, definitely encourage you to do so. Now would be the time to do it, because this is kind of the time of the year where we actually get the busiest in terms of appointments, as everybody is kind of trying to get all of their appointments and their certifications all completed. So right now, it is, like I mentioned, it's kind of the peak time. So our turnaround is a little bit slower than our typical 3 to 5 days. Right now we're at about a 7-day turnaround. And so if you want to get appointed, I'd encourage you to go ahead and submit your contract in a day. AHCP can help you with that. And because once you get your contract submitted and it's obviously approved, then you're going to receive your enrollment link. So every one of our agents receives their own custom hyperlink, as we call them, or enrollment link. You'll get an email from us once your appointment is completed that has this link on it. And it even includes a little graphic. It's a button if you want to put it on your website, if you want to put in your email signature, etc. When you go to the enrollment link, I'm going to pivot to there now, you'll see this page. You're going to put in the client zip code. And once again, this is consumer approved. So you can treat this as a traditional agent enrollment link and just do this yourself, or you can actually send this to your clients if you'd like. You put who will be covered and the coverage start date. It can be as early as tomorrow, or it can be, further out if you'd like. And by the way, all of your information will automatically populate right here. You don't have to rely on the client to put in any of your agent number or anything of that sort. That's all automatic, so that way you're insured credit. The plans will come up. And a common theme is I use the Minnesota zip code. So the Advantage Network plan up here is $28.60. And Minnesota is kind of right in that middle price point. And so I intentionally do that for that way you guys have kind of a fair view of what you'd expect from a price standpoint. So you'll see the word network on these plans. So these are the network plans. And so if they're going to utilize a network provider, there's no reason to offer them anything other than one of these two network plans, $28.60 and $41 even, respectively. To look up a provider, you click on this link right here. If they're not going to utilize a network provider, sell them one of these two plans right here, because these reimbursements are based upon the UCR. If you want to see the details of a plan, you can hit view details. They all come up. And let me show you kind of what a purchase process looks like. You're going to hit purchase. It's going to ask you if you want to check out now or view the vision. Let's do the latter. And then the vision plans are going to come up. IMED and VSP. The majority of our enrollments are the IMED plan. I don't know if that's because of network favoritism or not. I personally believe it's more of a rate thing. But let's go ahead and add the IMED plan and proceed to checkout. So now we've added the dental plan and the vision plan to the shopping cart. You can see the dental and vision premium and the monthly total. And I'll pivot back to the slides here. So that way you can, I can show it to you in a little bit quicker format. You're going to enter in your client's information, all the info that you've already got on them, name, address, date of birth, gender, marital status, phone number, email. You're going to enter in the payment, credit card or bank checking account. Our payments are automatic but free to cancel at any time. And the payment is always going to be on the effective date, meaning if you choose the effective date to be the 15th of the month, then the payment will always be on the 15th. And so if they're very particular about when the payment is, just be certain to put the effective date on that date. And then from there, you get kind of a review page and you hit submit. It's as simple as that. So we've got probably the most streamlined enrollment tool I've seen in terms of dental. And a big reason for that is because all we offer is dental. And so because we don't have any products that start to flirt with CMS, we're allowed to streamline that process much, much more vis-a-vis many of our competitors who are doing bundled plans. So therefore, there's no wet signature, there's no voice verification, or really anything of that sort. And so especially if you're doing telesales, if you're doing helping folks over the phone, or if you actually have a call center, this is a very, very streamlined process where you can do, I've got call centers that are doing these enrollments in like 60 to 90 seconds. The other thing that's cool, as I already mentioned, is you can send this to the client. Now, you're not going to sell as many dental plans if you send the enrollment link to your client and ask them to shop and compare and make a decision and buy it and do it themselves, vis-a-vis doing this for them. But you've got the option to send to the client if you want this to be very hands-off. But ultimately, the point I was gonna make was, by doing this enrollment, you don't even have to do it on the spot because you don't need that voice verification or a wet signature. If you want to simply talk to them about the dental plan, and then you're going to leave their house, you can wait till you get back home or get back to your office and do the enrollment then. Or if you've got a CSR you want to give it to, they can pop in the enrollment for you. So it really is truly very, very simple when it comes to kind of this enrollment process. From there, what happens is as a carrier rep, I am fortunate that I've got a pretty slick admin system behind me. Everything is completely API data fed throughout the entire process. And so it starts with the confirmation email. So, gone are the days of you having to call, the carrier or the GA saying, hey, I'm following up on a pending application. Immediately, just like if you're to buy something off of Amazon, you get a confirmation email. So the client gets that confirmation email, and you as the agent of record get a similar confirmation email. And then from there, like I mentioned, we do complete API feeds across our entire process, and so therefore it can spit out the other end, to use a very non-tech language there for a moment. We can fulfill a policy without any human intervention. And so where that helps you as the agent is it helps you really kind of minimize those, soft costs per se when it comes to servicing or administrating these plans. So our hope is that when you do these enrollments, that this is kind of as seamless and hands-off as possible, of course. Last but not least, and then we'll do questions next. If you've got questions, once again, please send them to the chat function. And if anyone would even prefer to do a question live, we'll see if we can get you unmuted and allow you to ask your question live. But the last thing I want to share with you is from an administrative standpoint, the majority of our, we've got 3 admin offices. We've got our biggest one in Lincoln, Nebraska, where our home office is at. We've got a big administrative office in San Antonio, and then we also have another one in a little town called Wayne, Nebraska. And for the most part, especially the ones like in Nebraska, these are just kind of good, hardworking farming community folks. Bless their hearts. They are open Monday through Thursday until midnight, and then until, I believe, 10 p.m. on Friday. And so that way they can, properly service the West Coast clients. But in the call center world, there's something called the benchmark portal, and that's not just for insurance call centers. It's for all call centers, regardless of industry. And most insurance carriers that I've seen will partake in this benchmark portal. Out of the insurance carriers that have won the portal, or the award, I should say, there isn't an insurance carrier that has won it 2 years in a row, except for us. We've actually won it now 10 years in a row. So we're extremely proud of that, of course. But I don't say that to say that you're not going to have any issues with our service or with Ameritas as a whole, But what I do try to say is we're proud of what we've been able to offer and deliver. We're a dental-focused company. And so, lots of these kind of smaller processes, assuming that it's within the laws and regulations, we try to kind of bake out to make it as simple as possible. There are times where, if there's something that's kind of, in that gray line in terms of simplifying admin, we're very white-hatted in how we operate, so we won't bend in that regard. So that can create a little bit of a perceived, we're not simple, but we definitely strive to, keep things simple, but also right any wrongs. So once again, I'm not here to say that you're not going to have ever any service issues with us, but we do our best, and I think, that effort shows up in these types of things like, 10 consecutive years of winning the Benchmark Portal Award. So it's pretty cool stuff. So with that, as kind of the last way to add value is we want to answer your questions. So if you've got questions, submit the Q&A. If you like what you've heard, please get contracted with us. Like I mentioned, now's kind of that time of the year to definitely do so if you plan on offering this during open enrollment or AEP. So that way you can get your enrollment link. And if you want to get contracted, just send an email to contracting@ahcpsales.com. And like I said, you've got the ability to get you contracted at full commission rates, and I think it'll work out really well for you.